Today we are at High Desert Middle School. They're having their career day today, and they have a lot of amazing presenters, and we're going to go from room to room and see all the presenters and talk to some of the kids and teachers. So it should be a really great day.
Thank you. Good job. Alright. So as she was saying, my name is Christine. I'm a paramedic. You guys know what a paramedic is? Yeah? Let's hear some. Yeah, we're going ambulances. Any other guesses? Like a nurse. Okay.
Isn't the paramedic the doctor that kind of sits in the back of ambulances?
They do sometimes. Yeah, there's some ambulances that do have doctors and nurses and respiratory therapists all in the back. That's like a mobile emergency room. It's actually pretty cool. I worked on one for a while. So, I'm actually just a little paramedic, which, little definition here, relating to services and professions that supplement support medical work, but don't require a fully qualified doctor. So, in simpler terms, basically means the doctor writes stuff out for like everybody. And I know what I'm supposed to do, and I don't need to call a doctor to do what I need to do. That's kind of what it means. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me first, though. I love this stuff. Oh, that's so cool. All right, so let's get to a few slides. But anyways.
You could just turn that around and do it manually.
Do manually?
Okay. But if you turn the whole laptop around, then you have to walk back and forth.
Oh, that's cute. So I grew up mostly in the Antelope Valley. This is where all you guys live. So Little Rock and Palmdale and all of that. And then I kind of moved to Los Angeles. Do you guys like Dodgers and baseball and stuff like that? Yeah? So I lived like so close to the Dodger Stadium, I could see the players. And that's how close I used to live there with my grandma. And so after a few years of doing that, my family came back when I was like in high school, and we settled in Acton, and that's kind of where our home base has been. Home base meaning like my siblings and I will go out and move in other states and just come back to mom and dad. So right now I'm actually living next to mom and dad. So I actually went to Vasquez High School, graduated there. Yeah, I actually went to Vasquez High School before any of you guys were born. And at the time, Vasquez had this cool little program where it teamed up with a local community college, so we can take college classes and high school classes at the same time, which I thought was super neat, because I wanted to be a doctor, right? You have to take so much schooling to be a doctor. So I was taking all these classes at the same time. And I've also been to other colleges and universities, and we'll get to that in a second. But my main goal, basically, was I want to be a doctor, and I want to live on a ranch with a bunch of horses and stuff, right? Doesn't seem too complicated, but it is. Because life is complicated. So I'm still going to school right now. I'm actually taking some classes online while I'm working. Found out that after high school, you actually have to pay for stuff on your own. Mom and dad don't even pay for it all, so I had to get a job. So at the time, I was watching a lot of movies and shows with a bunch of firefighters and ambulances and stuff. I'm like, that's cool. That'll settle for now while I go to school. So I researched a little bit, and there's this little community college in Glendale. You guys don't know where that is, I think, in LA, but they had a cool firefighter program and an EMT program. So I went there, and I absolutely loved it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a firefighter and an EMT. I'm not going to be a doctor anymore. I did that for a while. So let me explain to you guys the difference between an EMT and a paramedic. Not too much of a difference, but a little bit. An EMT stands for Emergency Medical Technician. Technician is basically somebody who specializes in a field. They go to school for that particular thing. That's what they do. They don't need like 4, 5, 6, 10 years of school for it. It's usually done in a couple of months, but they specialize in that. So emergency medical technician, basically I went to school for that. And I learned how to do CPR and a lot of first aids and basically how to manage an emergency situation. And that was my specialty. When I was done with that particular schooling and I got hired on with a company, we did extra training. As you guys can see with AMR and everybody out there, they drive, right? With their lights and sirens. Even the police and the firefighters, they all drive what we call code 3. That's with their lights and sirens, and it's really loud and obnoxious. But we have to get special training for that. Everybody does. And the reason everybody gets training for that is because there's 2 people minimum in the ambulance, right? So basically, these 2 people are both specialized in emergency care, and they both have to be able to manage an emergency scene. And while one is taking care of a patient, the other one is able to drive, and vice versa. So it means they can switch, right? So they both have to be able to do those skills. And I absolutely loved that job. I really did. It actually gave me a lot of opportunities elsewhere, as some of you guys are familiar, maybe your parents or your family works in movies and other things like that. And they usually have medical staff on standby. And that's what I did for a while. I worked on Fast and Furious a little bit, X Games. What else? I've done private events, so a couple celebrities went, I wouldn't say buy us out, but they'd be like, hey, there's some free snacks. Do you want to come and make sure nobody gets hurt? I was like, okay. We'll go and do that. But after maybe about 6 years of doing that, like, I still want to do more for people. I really do. I want to take care of them a little better. I'm still in this mindset of, well, I want to be a doctor, right? That was the previous slide. There we go. And here's what I do currently. So the difference between a paramedic and an EMT in California, it varies a little bit in state to state, essentially means that as a paramedic, I got extra training in medications and extra skills. So I can go out and I can administer certain medications if you're having an asthma attack, or if you got stung by a bee or have an allergy, or you're having a baby, or stuff like that, that involves a lot of extra training, is what I got. So that required me to go to school again. I went to school over here in Lancaster, and that took about a year in a classroom. And then I did another 3 months in an actual hospital in a nice setting where it's like, I follow a nurse around and they'd be, this is how you do this. And here's extra people just in case you need help. Which was really cool, because 3 months later, when I actually got onto the ambulance to do all these skills, they're like, yeah, it's only you and your partner, go do it. I'm like, okay. It's a little more scary. Go a little faster this time.
Now we're with Sarah Brewer, Forest Ranger at Vasquez Rocks, and see her presentation.
How are you, Misty? Good to see you.
All right.
Oh, so you know all this anyway. Okay, so for those of you that I didn't have, I'm basically Leslie Knope. Who watched Parks and Rec? Anybody watch Parks and Rec?
I've seen it before.
Ah, usually it's a bunch of
twice.
kids. Yeah, it's a really silly show, but it's really funny, and I always loved it because it's kind of a parody of what it's like to work with the public and in Parks and Recreation, but a lot of it is pretty close. In that you never know what you're going to get. You always have really funny, weird situations come up. It keeps you on your toes, which I love. That's part of why I went into this field. But let me tell you a little bit about how I got here and what I did for education, because I know that's what you guys are most interested in, right? You don't want to hear about animals and movies and all this other stuff. You care about what I did for school. I know. Okay, so we'll do this part fast then. So I grew up all the way in Agua Dulce, right by the elementary school. I went all through, actually did preschool right next to Agua Dulce Elementary, went through the elementary school back when it was Agua Dulce Elementary. And then it was Einstein, right? Did anybody go to Einstein when it was there? And then now it's iLead. So did anybody go to any of the iLead schools? I don't know if you guys did or not. So now it's great because I work with iLead and I do programming like this. They come to me, I go to them. It's a really cool thing, and it's weird because I'll talk to you guys about this classroom in a minute. But it's funny because I get to go back to all these places that I grew up in, and it's a really strange, cool feeling to be able to do that. So I went here, obviously, for 7 and 8. We didn't have 5 and 6 back then. Then I went to Vasquez High School, which was, it was challenging back then because that was when we were fighting to get the new campus, right? You guys were probably too little to remember, but it was rough days back then, but had a lot of really great growth, made a lot of really great friends, had some awesome teachers,
and that kind of helped pave the way for how I was going to become as an adult. So after that, I went to College of the Canyons because, like a lot of kids, it was close to home, it was really reasonable, and it still is. So COC or ABC, junior colleges are awesome options if, you know, maybe you're not rolling in cash or you can't move away from home. You don't know exactly what you want to do. It's a great place to just kind of figure that out. I had a lot of really great teachers there, made a lot of really great friends there also. And I studied history, which, who loves history in here? Oh, that's more than I expected. And I totally get that history sounds like, who thinks history is the most boring thing of all time? It's okay. Oh, usually it's more. You guys are just trying to make me happy, huh? But it's one of those things too where history, I did kind of have a hard time with it. And if you have someone that's maybe not really effective in teaching it well, it can be a really hard topic, right? Like I had a really hard time with math and some of the hard sciences like chemistry. I had to work really, really hard. And if you have a teacher that maybe isn't great at being creative with how they teach, it can be challenging. But if you have some great teachers, like I did with history, in this classroom, which is so weird that I'm back in this one again because I didn't even recognize it, it can kind of change things for you. So I'll do a really fun upbringing there. So really quick, I just want to show you guys kind of how this works. You guys are older, so you probably have been a little more savvy to how things are structured, how government works. But we have different types of government, right? The big one in the country is the federal government. Then you have different state governments, like California state parks, right, that are run through the state. I'm at a smaller government level, which is the county of Los Angeles, which is where you guys live. So our county is the most populous county in the country. It's huge. We have a lot of people. And when you have a lot of people, they need services, right? Do we need things like police, fire, road work, animal control, stuff like that? So that's what we have. So we have LA County Fire Department, LA County Sheriff's Department, LA County Department of Animal Control, Public Works, which works on the highways and roads. And then there's one that's really, really important, which is Parks and Recreation. So this provides free opportunities for people to either just get outdoors, or we have exercise classes, or sports, or different camps over the summer, all kinds of different services that we provide. So I work for County of LA, and then I work for the Parks Department. I work for the Natural Areas Division of the Parks Department, which is the best division. We have the parks, they're basically like mini national parks, right? They're big open spaces that focus on preserving natural habitat and wildlife and, you know, education like that. So we don't have basketball courts and playgrounds. So Acton Park, you guys have probably been there. Acton Park is an awesome community park, right? It's under LA County, but it's not under the natural areas because it's a developed area. And I work out in Vasquez Rocks Natural Area Park, which is the best place in the whole world. So some of our work in the natural areas, these are just a few of the broad things that we do. We protect natural resources, so plants, animals, habitat, water, streams, stuff like that. We do a lot of education and public outreach, which is what this is right here. I get to do animal care and rehabilitation, which we're actually licensed federally and with the state to be able to do that. We do event planning and coordination. Overall park operations and maintenance, so basically maintaining our facilities and our parks, you know, doing things like answering phones, keeping the buildings clean, establishing new buildings, taking out the trash because we like people to not litter, so trash is very important. And we also do cultural resource protection because of a lot of our parks, like Vasquez, are situated on historic sites, right? Like, have you guys heard of the Tataviam? So the Tataviam was actually the last group of native people that lived in this area. And they lived here for over 1,300 years. And before that, we have dates. We know that people were living in Vasquez Rocks for at least 4,300 years, 4,300 years. People were living on the site that's Vasquez now. So there's a lot of things left behind to protect, and because I'm an archaeologist, I get to help do that, which is really, really cool. So these are some aspects of my job. Okay, who gets a little restless? Who gets bored a little easily? Who likes to do a lot of different things all at the same time? Yes, it's most of us, right? So this is a great job for people like us because I, you know, as a not even as a kid, I can't even say that. As an adult now too, I've always struggled with attention deficit disorder, right? Which can be a burden or it can actually help you get a lot done all at the same time. But like in certain school situations, I would really struggle. So if you guys struggle with that, you're okay. It might be frustrating, you're always gonna have to deal with it, but you can use it as a strength, right?
So we're here with Dr. Giselle Bice from High Desert Middle School, and I wanted to take a moment to congratulate her on this great career day for the kids, great speakers. And so how do you feel about it and how it's going and how your first 9 or so months have been here?
Yeah, I'm excited about today. Of course, a lot of nervous energy because Career Day is so special and so important here at High Desert School.
Right.
But it's been wonderful to see how the veteran staff and the new staff have really come together. We have 17 presenters here. We have JPL, we have animal rescue, we have people from the movie industry, we have a lineman, and it was just really important to reach out to our community and to our contacts, but to bring in some new blood and bring in some new encouragement. I was really excited because I just stepped out of seeing Dr. Cooper and seeing our own director come in and be inspiring and tell a little bit about his story and understanding that right now all the opportunities are out there. So it's been a really fun day. It's been a fun year too. I can't believe it's been 10 months and we have athletics and continuing all of the enrichment programs and creating more opportunities for kids to come in with after school tutoring, and we're going to be implementing Saturday school, which will be a way for us to recoup on learning, but also how can we help with social skills and soft skills with our kids so they can be successful. So there's a lot on our plates, but I'm still excited. I'm so happy to be a part of the community and to be here. Not everything's perfect and we're always stumbling a bit, but I'm just really grateful for our cabinet and Mr. King and our community as well, that we're seeing the best in each other, and it's what's best for kids. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for
thank
taking
you.
time
Thank
to
you.
talk to me. Just get this ready. So here we're here with Aislinn, 7th grader, and she's going to let us know so far what she's seen today as far as presenters and what she's liked and what she's seen.
I've gone to the DreamWorks editor and the Best Friends Animal Shelter, which were both really fun. Everyone's really nice. The Best Friends Animal Shelter is such a good place, and the DreamWorks editing sounds like such a fun job to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time. All right. So we're here with DreamWorks.
Yes.
Presenting next.
Kind of. I'm trying to make it interesting and it's not. I'm trying not to fall asleep. My name is Seve Downs. I'm a supervising editor at DreamWorks Animation. As a supervising editor, I work on a show called Captain Underpants right now. I don't know if you guys know what Captain Underpants is.
Yeah, I watched the movie.
You've seen the movie. Has anybody seen the show on Netflix?
Yeah.
You like it? Does everybody like the show on Netflix?
Yeah.
I like the show on Netflix much better than I like the movie.
I love the movie.
Has anybody read the books?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
The
a
show's a lot more. The show's a lot more like the books, I think, than the movie was, right? But it's really fun to work on. I work with some really funny people, and we all have a good time. That's not to say that we don't work hard, but we all have a good time while we're working hard. Which is, if you find a career that you really like to do, you should be having fun, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing to do. So I basically got started in this by accident. I never really intended to be in animation. I never had a desire, or a dream to be in animation, I should say. I took some classes at a community college after I went to high school because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Much like I'm sure a lot of you will have no idea what you want to do. And I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time and money in college if I have no clue what I want to do. All right? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I went to community college and I said, I'm going to take classes that I want to take because they're going to tell me I have to take English, I have to take this, and I have to take that in order to get a degree. I'm like, I just want to take what I want to take so I can try to figure out what it is I want to do. So when they record voices, and this kind of switches sometimes depending on the show, they'll make a storyboard. A storyboard is basically just a drawing of them drawing out the show. From that, the storyboard and the dialogue and sound effects and music are put together in this little thing called an animatic, which is basically a visual representation of what a show is supposed to look like. So I said I can probably do that. I've done some editing before, and went and interviewed and got the job at this place called Klasky Chupo, which I know you probably don't know the name, but they actually were the first studio to make The Simpsons. So I worked on a show called Duckman, which was an adult series at the time that lasted for a couple seasons. And ended up working on shows like Rugrats,
I see Squidward.
Wild Thornberries, Rocket Power, shows like that. And then made the transition to Nickelodeon and worked on the show that you guys all love.
I see Squidward over there.
I worked on SpongeBob for probably about between 8 and 10 years, from season 4 to season 9, until I took a break and went to making movies.
Of course.
And then I transitioned to DreamWorks.
Of course. Of course.
Julian, you guys know that show. And
then you turned on the
a number of other
Yes,
shows.
that would be lovely.
Finally, the other definitely.
never had this hat.
So that's how I got into this. I have a short example of what an animatic is, so you guys can see it. Anybody ever seen a show called Sanjay and Craig?
That's my dad's and my favorite show.
This is a show. This is the first ever episode of Sanjay and Craig that we did, and this was the animatic for it. Now, this is a good example of how rough drawings can be when you put them together. But,
Good one, Megan. He's unconscious. Time out.
No, I'm okay.
She needs to stall. I think she has another pig. He needs mouth to mouth.
Wait, what?
Yeah, give us mouth to mouth. I watched this episode.
Direct violation of neighborhood watch code 4. Shoot snake in a boy's face. Hate snakes.
Open these peanuts for me, son.
The snake.
What are we gonna do? She's totally nuts. To beat Megan, we need some sort of crazy food throwing machine.
Yeah, like a huge catapult. Kung Fu catapult!
So that doesn't look like much, does it? But you can still kind of see the shape where we started from, right? Right.
Now we're with Aaron Granger.
Why is that box there? That's a container. That's a fluid container. Sorry, that question was rhetorical. I didn't actually expect you to know the answer. Did you have a question besides that? No, you were going to answer? I appreciate your initiative. However, what frame are we on? 1. We're just at the very beginning, so we still have all this time left to go. So let's run it and see what happens. So remember all that stuff that it's thinking about? That's why it's planning in 1 frame at a time. It's just going chomp, 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 because it's thinking about fuel, it's thinking about heat, it's thinking about gravity, it's thinking about air, it's thinking about ignition. Yeah, go ahead.
In Fallout, the artists, they do the fire differently.
They do. Yeah. And everybody does everything different. This is just one example of a small explosion. So there's a million examples. I could do smoke, I could do water. There's a million examples of explosions. They're all different types depending on what you make. So this is playing a little more real time. Let's play it. Let's play it for sure real time. So if I want to test what I'm doing, so that's what it's going to look like in real time. You can kind of see the start of the explosion. You can see also where it's done exploding, but the volume is still taking fluid. That means the emitter is still emitting. heat and volume and all these other things that it needs to run, right? So you can see the explosion end is probably right about there. But then you can see this little area right there. Right there, you can kind of still see it burning a little bit. So we don't necessarily need all that. And then we'll need to render it out. I don't need to do this right now. I would do probably a couple weeks. I would spend a couple weeks on an explosion. This is, what, 5 minutes, right? So we're not going to do the full deal right here, but what else do you need? I think you need a light, probably, huh? Use a light. Move it around. That's really cool. So now we're looking through a light. That was our light that we were just looking at. We can hide it. Oops, I missed. Change my view again. And you know what else you need? I think you need a camera. Well, so let's create a camera. And let's look through it also. Oops. I'm just going to change my view to make it square and to make it run fast.
So we were just with Aram Granger, who's a video programmer and developer, and now we're going to find Amanda Jarvis, who works for JPL and is a system analyst.
I want to know, are you still doing? No, you're good, Okay. How's everybody doing? How's the day going? Good. You say good or going? Oh, okay. It's going. It's happening. And how is, who have you guys seen so far? Presenters. Okay, what are these presenters presenting? That much, huh? Okay. Okay, what's the takeaway that you guys had from at least one of them? We'll talk about today. So first I'll talk about how I got to my career, a little bit about my career as at NASA, and then kind of just watch some videos and interact with you guys. So who knows, everybody knows NASA, right? You guys know JPL?
No.
No? Okay, so, okay, very cool. It's I love the campus. It's very open. It's just but it stands for Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So NASA consists of 10 different locations across the country, and 3 of them are in California. You guys actually have one almost in your backyard in Palmdale. And the other one's up north, which is called Ames, and then I'm over at Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. You guys know where Pasadena is? Okay. So before I start talking about NASA and JPL, a little bit about myself. I grew up in Santa Clarita, went to Golden Valley High School. You guys know where Santa Clarita is? I think so. Yeah, it's that way. And I was the first in my family to go to college. So I moved to Arizona, got my degree in economics, but just for a survey, what grade or age group is this? 7th, 8th? Okay, so when I was in 6th grade, I was a little bit of a nerd, and I was like, I'm going to be an accountant. People were like, that's lame. And I was like, no, it's not. It's practical, dealing with money. It's great. It's a stable job. I got to college, started doing accounting. I realized this is not for me, but that's okay. Accounting's still a great career path. I just realized I wasn't going to do it. And so I ended up getting my degree in economics. So when I say economics, what does that mean to you guys? You guys know what it is? Economy, okay? So essentially, once you guys get to high school, at least mine did, when we took an econ class, it was more government-centered of how U.S. government deals with the economy. Like, what's our state in the economy, right? When you get to college, the idea of economics grows exponentially, and you basically incorporate mathematical models to understand life, if you will. So I'm assuming you've all been to a gas station, right? Okay, and you know the big sign where it says the price tag for it? Okay, so, and it's changing all the time. So it's like, how do they pick the number? Why is it changing? Economists this the simple supply and demand are factors that go into how to decide what the price will be, okay? So in economics, that's kind of an idea of what you deal with. But the nice thing about economics and math background or financial background is you're not limited to just being the title of an economist or just doing one industry or only going to government. You have access to really any industry that you want to be in, because it gives you the ability to problem solve, to understand macro and micro, which is macro is big scale, micro is small scale for both like companies and industries. So this is the training I get. So it's about to graduate, and you start thinking, okay, I need to get a job. I have to adult, but nobody really likes adulting. You guys know what adulting is?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's use this terminology.
It's a little older.
I know. It worked on the last class. And so I basically applied for JPL based off of 2 prior internships. My grandma was the one who actually inspired me to apply to NASA. When I was in college, she said, hey, do you want an internship, or why don't you apply to NASA? And I was like, but I'm not an engineer or a scientist. Like, what would I do at NASA? She's like, silly, money runs the world. Every company, entity needs a money manager, if you will, even if you're a nonprofit, which they're not driven by a profit, but they still have money to manage their company. So I applied to NASA. I have my first internship at Dryden, which is in Palmdale. I have my second internship over in Alabama at Marshall, and they deal with like heavy rocketry, so the rockets that get into deep space. And then I finally end up at JPL, where we do predominantly robotics, and my specific mission is based off of Mars. So who here knows about Curiosity? Okay, do you want to tell me a little bit about it?
It's just a rover that was sent out to Mars to analyze the soil and stuff.
Just casual, just no big deal. Do you guys know what a Mini Coupe is?
Mini Cooper?
Mini Coupe.
Well, yeah, you could.
It's a car.
Yeah, it's a little car.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
drive
could
around. So
dive
imagine
in.
the size of that now being landed on another planet. Now, it's not the same as, oh, I want to ship this car to Europe, or I want a European car to come over here, or I go to Canada or Mexico. We kind of got that transportation down. So now think of it as we need to go out of our Earth's atmosphere, travel for 6 months, and then land on another planet that's moving. So the difficulty that goes with that increases exponentially. So the video I'm about to show you, have you guys seen 7 Minutes of Terror?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. I showed it last year, so I didn't want to.
So we're going to see Chris Borja, who's a retired veteran, Special Forces, and he started his own organization helping veterans with PTSD, with equine therapy and mobility therapy, and he's here talking to the kids on how he came about to do this, and he's giving them money for every question they answer. So of course the kids all want to answer. It's quite interesting. Here we go.
Gotta pay attention.
Wow.
You guys need any help? You guys want to ask any questions?
Very motivated. Wow.
No, Fort Benning, Georgia.
I knew it was Georgia.
I've never been to Alabama, like.
Oh, Georgia. I think it was somebody else last year.
Fort Benning, Georgia.
These kids are happy with the money.
My last class, they were talking about Alabama a lot. I didn't have my money. Wait, can you call someone more than once?
What's that?
Can you call someone more than once?
Yeah, I'm calling on who I see the first name goes. I told you guys to take notes. School pays off. I'm telling you guys, take notes, practice, school pays off.
Yeah, take notes and then you answer the
Now it's
questions.
time to pay off. See how good your guys' schooling's going. Hello? What does the acronym SEER stand for?
Oh my.
Stand for, I'm going to try doing this without looking at my search.
No.
I mean, no. It's survival,
Yes.
evasion,
Yep. What's the R stand for?
Hang on, I got this.
Look at your nose.
Yeah, I'm looking. Survival, evasion, resistance, and I don't want mine.
Alright.
What? I'll take
What's
it,
the
please. Can I take it, please? I don't need mine.
I'll eat it.
Alright. You raise your hand, I will call you. Alright. Go ahead, yeah?
You play Fortnite?
Do I play Fortnite?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I'm like too old for Fortnite.
No one's too old for that.
Yeah, I got a business. I got those like adulting responsibilities. Alright, any other questions? Or are we going back to this game?
Oh, really?
Dang.
It's just a question.
I'm telling you guys, maybe you guys take more into life.
Yeah.
What's my favorite color?
Oh, green.
Are you
My goodness. I think this is a popular presenter.
Dude, that's like easy to remember.
No, it's not.
Work timeline looks like. And it's broken up into two parts of the year, the on season and the off season. So, you know, we hate rain and drifting, even though we can do it in drifting. So most of our events take place from April to October, where we can get the best possible weather. This is the part of the year that I just really love because it's about being on site. It's about being in these types of environments with the drivers, watching the competition. It's all the action. It's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of travel. And I spend a lot of time on the road. But for me, this is something that I've become extremely passionate about, and it's the part that I love the most. The second part is the off season, and that's from November to March. So that's the part of the season that we're in right now. This is the not so fun season for me because it really is about doing all of the pre-planning, all the sales, marketing plan, budgeting, hiring people to be able to do that part. But it's just as necessary to do the second part, the off season, as it is to do the on season. They kind of go hand in hand. So one thing that's been helpful for me that I have on my refrigerator that I look at every day are just some daily reminders about things that I want to keep front of mind. This is not going to be, you know, some new knowledge that you haven't heard before, but these are things that I like to see every day, to remind myself every day as I go through the challenges of life and working, and just keeping my eye on the ball in certain areas and aspects of my life. So waking up early, I know everybody hates that. Woke up early today. It's not fun for the first 5 or 10 minutes, but I've just found that waking up early really gives me an opportunity when the house is quiet to kind of see how I want the day to project for me. I can envision things without distractions, and I know that if I get up early and I have a productive day and I'm feeling good about what I'm doing, and I know I have to get up early the next morning, I'm going to get to bed at a reasonable time, I'm going to get proper sleep, and at my age, I'm almost 40, you know, it's much harder to have less sleep. So for me, this is something that's really important. And it does help me reduce anxiety and negativity. One of the things that happened to me early on as a business owner, as I was doing so much, I was trying to micromanage everything, and I was working incredible hours because I was so passionate about what I was doing that I didn't realize that what was going on with me as I was developing a lot of negativity and anxiety in my life, and I actually put myself in the emergency room a couple times with a panic attack. If you ever had one of those, it feels like you're having a heart attack and the walls are closing in around you. And I realized this has got to stop. I have to make some changes in my life to help myself manage stress and anxiety much better. So whether it's exercise or meditation practice, which is what I've gotten into, or just better habits overall about how to manage your time and how to think about things big picture wise, reducing your anxiety and negativity I think is extremely important in regular life, but also in your business so you don't burn out. Another thing that I think is important is knowledge. We're at school, we're here to obtain knowledge. General knowledge acquisition for me has been extremely important because when you start a small business and you're doing that because you have a very specific reason of what you want to do, you don't realize that I don't know anything about accounting. I don't know anything about human resources. I don't know anything about legal. All these other things that come along with doing that, had I known about those ahead of time, I could have spent some time to understand generally how they all function, and I would have been able to give myself a better foot forward. So I always say now that trying to learn at every possible opportunity, whatever it is, whether it's something you're passionate about or something that you have to be involved in by necessity, is something that should be front of mind. And also, I think where I can help you is to try to find, some inspiration in your life, whether it's an inspirational person or a story. To me, the way that I like to think about this is building your narrative. In your mind, you have a way that you think about your life. It's a story that goes on, and everybody wants to be the hero of their own story. And putting that idea front and center of your mind to know how you want to function and operate in your life, I think is something that's worthwhile to think about and to remember. And one thing that's been important for me, especially in the latter years, is an area that, because I was working so much and doing so many things, I forgot to make the commitments that I needed to in my life to my, my friends and family. And that's something that I look back on and kind of have a little bit of regret about, that I was so focused on doing this sport and doing this business that I missed out on really cool opportunities of my friendships with my friends and family, that I think it's really good to be focused and be a good business person, whatever you want to do with your career, but not forget the other cool parts of life, like your relationships with your family and friends. And part of that is just having some good balance. The things that I think about the most that are relevant to probably you guys and to me right now is, how much time you're spending on TV and social media. I don't know if you guys are doing social yet, but these are really good tools. They can be used appropriately. You can have them as learning tools. There's great educational aspects to them, but they also can have some dangerous negative consequences if you outbalance them in one direction versus the other. Being a good example, I just try to remember that as much as I possibly can, because when you are in a position of authority, or you own a business, or you are an ASB leader at a school, people are looking up to you. They want to know how you're going to react to things. And how you react to things is how they're going to feel that it's okay for them to react. So being a good example is something that I think is important and to try to keep in front of mind. And finally, probably the most important one for me is to understand and try and seek truth as much as possible. School is about learning truth and understanding your biases, the things that in your mind that you think are true but are probably not true. Trying to understand where your blind spots are in business is extremely important, because they can be used against you to try to have a worse deal take place, or somebody to take advantage of you. But if you're always focused on truth and keeping the opportunities where you see an opportunity, I can be dishonest and I can get ahead, was only going to start the progression forward, where you're going to have to address that at some point. So for me, it's always better to try to be truthful and honest as much as you possibly can, and understand where your weak spots are. And I think that's good not only in business, but also life in general. So thank you for your attention. Questions? I'll give some stickers for questions. How about that?
How long have you been doing this?
This is my 16th year. Yes, I started 2004.
Do you have your own? Do you have your own drift car?
I don't have my own drift car anymore. At the very beginning, I did, but now my focus is just much more like on the business side of things.
That's kind of what I was going to ask. Like, have you ever been like a driver's seat?
Yeah, quite a bit. Like in the early days, we had a lot of our employees had their own cars, and we would mess around. But as everybody's kind of gotten older, the fun part for us now is jumping in the pros' cars and letting them take us for drive-alongs and things like that.
How old are you now?
So now we're going into Janelle Percy's presentation, and she's a retired Air Force pilot.
What I wanted to do.
So
they
now
sent
we
me
are
to
with
space camp
Janelle
when I
Percy.
was in junior high, and I thought I wanted to be an astronaut, but then realized that you could train your whole life and maybe not even go up into space once. So they also had some plane simulators, and I flew those, and I really liked that. So then my dad said, well, hey, if you want to become a pilot, why don't you go to the Air Force Academy? It's a lot cheaper than trying to learn how to fly on your own. So I started looking into that. Air Force Academy is a 4-year college that's in Colorado Springs. And to get in there, you need really good grades in high school. They also look at your SAT and ACT tests. But they don't just want smart people, they want well-rounded people as well. So they look at a lot of your extracurricular activities. So if you're in Boy Scouts, if you're in theater, if you're in music, if you do work with charities or nonprofits, stuff like that. So they look at that as well. And you also need a letter of recommendation. So you have to write to your senator and, or representative and let them know that you want to go to the Air Force Academy. They have to recommend and sponsor people at the academy. So they'll hold an interview and then talk to you about why you want to go. And if they pick you to sponsor you, you submit your package to the Air Force Academy. And then out of all the people that apply, they pick about 1,500 kids to go through the class. So graduated, like I said, it's like a college, so I graduated there with a degree in aeronautical engineering. And then once you graduate, you become an officer in the Air Force. So you get to talk to them about what you want to do in the Air Force. I wanted to be a pilot. So I went to specialized undergraduate pilot training, which was a year long in Columbus, Mississippi. So I learned how to fly on the T-37 and the T-38. So basically they took you from someone who doesn't know how to fly at all to be able to fly a plane all by yourself. After that, what they do is they have, you know, when you have missions and everything, it's kind of like sometimes they'll do a test and see how well you do. So they rank everyone at pilot training on how well you do. And then they say, okay, we have these airplanes available. It might be a fighter, it might be a helicopter. And then the #1 person gets to pick which plane they want to fly. And they go all the way down, and the last person gets what's left over. So you kind of want to do well in pilot training, so you get your first pick. So I went to C-130 training at Little Rock, Arkansas. That was 6 months learning how to fly the C-130 because the trainers we flew on were a lot different. You're flying mainly by yourself, where this is a crew airplane. We need to do that. And then I went on, I flew the MC-130P, so we had some specialized missions that the regular C-130s didn't do. And I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit. So I had to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico to finish up my training. So you can see 4 years of college, a year of pilot training, and then a year of C-130 training to get fully where I could do my mission. Okay, so that's a C-130 up there, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the special missions that we flew. So our primary mission was in-flight helicopter refueling. So our plane had 2 pods right here where the hose and the drogue would wind up into that. So when we were flying, they weren't, normally they weren't out. So if we had those out, we had to fly a lot slower. So that's why it was nice that they wound up. And we could refuel 2 helicopters at a time. So this was really important in Iraq and Afghanistan because when we first went over there, we didn't have any bases where the helicopters could refuel. So they took a lot of the Army guys in, dropped them off, they would capture the bad guys, get back on the helicopter, and then they'd fly away. But they need a lot of gas for that, and there was no places on the ground for them to do that, so we had to do that all in air.